Immigration is a big divisive issue, right? And there's some very loud people on social media there's a very anti-Islam message being pushed. Some of that's understandable because, you know, the grooming gangs thing's horrendous, and it's the diversity, equity and inclusion ideological nonsense that kept Labour politicians and people from speaking up about it. That's all a massive issue and it all needs addressing. But to then generalize that against all Muslims, I think is a little bit dangerous. And it's divisive. And ultimately, immigration, the sort of flooding of the country with migrants it's a symptom of a problem. And everybody's pointing the finger at Muslims. And it's like, who's opening the door?
Bingo.
Because it's not a Labour Conservative issue. They're both guilty of it. It's coming from on high. It's coming from transnational groups.
Bingo.
Yes. Why is nobody looking up? Instead, we're all just pointing the finger at each other.
This invasion is not good. It's flooding our, native population.
They're not integrating.
They're disruptive. They're undermining financially, job security, the overwhelming infrastructure that's already crumbling and creaking, whether it's the NHS, the schools, whatever. It's not good. It's not a viable, sustainable option. But the right-wing pundits that you alluded to, the prominent people who get a lot of followers on social media and get on platforms and TV and blah, 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 they're very quick to point at the bad Muslims and the bad migrants. All right?
And I acknowledge there's a problem there.
They'll acknowledge a problem, which is true. They'll acknowledge that there's problems with Islam, which is true. But there's problems with every religion. What they will never... And they'll stoke the fires of division and hatred, but they'll never look upwards and say, who's orchestrating this? Who is behind the massive global logistical effort of transporting all these people? Who's giving them credit cards with money and mobile phones? What's the role of the Soros Foundation and other open NGOs? And what's the EU doing this? And what's the Kalergi plan? And why is every country in the West getting this mass migration, but one country in the Middle East is meant to stay a pure ethno state? It's really funny what's going on over here. Like, why? And could this all be because these migrants are then beholden to the state? Could it be because the migrants don't feel any loyalty to the country but are now global citizens? There's so much involved here. And so two things can be wrong. It's wrong that this is happening, but it's also wrong to just call it the division and hatred for the sake of it and not point upwards.
Correct.
At the root cause.
Yes, you've got every right to be angry. And, I'm a father of a girl, and the idea of the whole grooming gang scandal, it's like, I don't contest anybody that's opposing that and stands vehemently opposed to that. It needs sorting out now. It needs sorting out a long time ago, actually. But the Islamification of the UK is a symptom. It's a problem and it needs addressing, but it's a symptom of a larger problem, which is what we've been talking about, which is the controlled demolition of this country in line with initiatives like Agenda 2030. It's deliberate. People are looking to our politicians and saying, don't you know that we haven't got capacity? Don't you know that pensioners are freezing to death? They know. I've told you already. This is deliberate.
This is their job.
It's controlled demolition. They're pulling every lever at their disposal. And they know these people won't integrate. So what we're going to be left with is a divided population like ants in a jar. And whenever they like, they can shake that jar. And we're going to turn our attention and our energy inwards and not be opposed to the people shaking the jar.